Okay, so welcome to the next lesson, step 2, what hypnosis is. Step 1 was what it wasn't. Step 2 is now we're moving into what hypnosis really is and why it works. So would you like to learn how to warm up your client's mind for hypnotherapy? It's kind of like stretching the muscles, like you do before a jog. You kind of stretch, that way your muscles are going to get you through that jog and not do any damage. Same sort of thing, or not that there's any damage, but just going to warm up the client's mind. It also gives them a hypnotic experience, often their very first hypnotic experience. It builds up a belief within themselves, and it further increases the chances of a successful session. So let's have a look at how to do this. So it starts off by moving from step 1 into step 2, and you say, look, let me talk to you about what hypnosis actually is now. So the body is a robot controlled by the mind, and so what the mind sees, the body has a tendency to do. And then you relate this to something they can kind of relate to, and that is scary or sad books or movies. And typically I ask my client, have you ever seen a scary or a sad movie? They typically say yes. Yeah, great. Well, what's a scary or sad movie that comes to mind for you? What's a really popular scary movie or a popular sad movie that you've seen before? And if they can't really think of anything, I typically go, have you seen the Titanic? So many people have seen the Titanic. And they're like, yeah, I have seen the Titanic. Great. I said, I take them to that moment. I go, there's that moment in the Titanic, the movie, where the ship's sinking and Rose is on the driftwood and Jack sacrifices his life and he drowns, and it's a sad moment and people are crying. They get a lump in their throat. And I say, in that moment, they truly believe like it's happening in front of them, but it's not. It's just, that's Leonardo DiCaprio. It's Kate Winslet. It's probably warm water. And we know he's not dead. We know he survives. You know, he's doing quite well for himself from what I hear. Kate Winslet's doing well. And so it's just this complete fabrication of what we see in front of us. But when we watch a movie, we choose to go on an emotional journey. And I typically then say, have you ever watched a movie with someone that keeps on pointing out where that's not real, that's not real, that's not right, that's not right? So does that make the movie better or worse? And I'm like, no, it makes it worse. I go, exactly. Why does it make it worse? Because it keeps reminding you of that this is not real. It takes you out of the experience. I said, what you want to do is you just want to enjoy the experience. I said, well, hypnosis is like that. The entire time you'll be sitting in your seat, but as long as you turn off your disbelief, as long as you believe like it's really happening to you, as long as you choose to enjoy the experience as though it's really happening, what will happen is you'll feel like you're going on this amazing journey. You'll feel like you're doing this certain things. You'll feel like you're walking through a waterfall. You feel like you're at the beach. You feel like you're at a forest. It'll feel like it's really happening to you, because the great thing about the unconscious mind is it can't tell what's real and what's imagined. It ends up feeling like they're all real. And that's why hypnosis works. So we'll pause there, and basically that's the first part to step 2. Step 2 is 2 parts to it. We've now set the principle. They understand what we mean. We've then demonstrated to them that in the past, they've been able to turn off their disbelief, such as watching a scary or sad movie. Now, if they don't watch movies, you can go to books. Books mean exactly the same thing. So a Stephen King book, when you read a Stephen King book, you're all getting all creeped out. It's just Stephen King's imagination. It's just printed up ink printed on pulped up wood. And, but people feel like it's really happening. So same sort of thing with books. Part 2 is where we need them to demonstrate they can do it on command. So can they turn off their disbelief on command? Now, we don't say that, but that's what we're going for here. So let's go to part 2. Part 2 is step 2. Part 2 of step 2 is where we give them what we call a lemon demonstration. And so you say to them, look, let me give you an example of your ability to be able to do this. So go ahead and close your eyes. Get them to close their eyes. Now, the structure is you're going to tell them a very quick story about them coming home. They go to the kitchen, open up their fridge. They grab a lemon from the fridge. They go to the bench. They cut it in half. They then bite into the lemon. And then you get them to open up their eyes, and they notice the amount of saliva in their mouth. That is the basic structure. Now, the ingredients to tell that story. So it's a story. So think of the structure is the story, but that's not very interesting just yet. We then need to pad it in. We need to fill in the blanks around that structure. That's the skeletal structure. We need to kind of give it some meat now. And the meat is that we're going to generalize with our language. So you'll say it says, come home, because some people live in a house. Some people live in an apartment. Some people live in a boat. Some people live in a caravan. If you were to say house, you lose people that don't live in a house. So whenever we say things hypnotically, we want to say things that our client cannot deny. So when we generalize, it stops them from being able to say, that's not me. So we want to generalize a lot. Everyone has a fridge. Now, when you talk about the fridge, don't say anything other than food. other than food. Don't say milk, don't say cheese, don't say eggs, because not everyone has those things in their fridge, but say food. You see the food in the fridge. Everyone has a bench. And so we're just saying things that pretty much every single house has. Sorry, every single home, I should say. Every single home has. Now, so we want to use VACOG. That's the second ingredient, VACOG. What do I mean by VACOG? Well, VACOG is the sensory information that you put into the story. So when they come home, they can smell the smell of their home. They can see the things that they normally see when they get home. So I say things because I want to generalize it. They can hear the sounds that they normally hear when they're home, whatever they are. And that's a great thing about hypnotic language is you don't need to use specificity because your listener or your client will fill in the blanks. They will hear the specificity. When I say you come home, all I need to say is home. You see all the detail that you would normally see to make your home home. And so that's a great thing about hypnotic language. We speak ambiguously and the listener or the client fills in the blanks and makes it specific to them. So we use VACOG. So they see the things they normally see. When they open up the fridge, what would they feel? They would feel the cool air. What could they hear as they pop open the fridge door? They feel that cool air. They look inside the fridge and they see the food and all the different colors of the food. Now, I typically put a lemon in the fridge because it gives you a bit more sensory information. I say to them, you notice that someone has put a lemon in the fridge. I say someone. I don't say they. Not everyone puts lemons in the fridge. Some people put lemons on the bench. But I say someone's put a lemon in the fridge. They cannot deny that someone could do that. Now, what that allows me to do is get more sensory information in there because as they put their hand in to grab hold of that lemon, how would it feel now? It'd feel cool. It'd feel cold in their hand. There'd be a weight in their hand. There'd be a firmness to the lemon. And so they bring the lemon out and they shut the fridge door and they hear it shut behind them. So hear, auditory. And they walk to the bench, they put the lemon down and you slice the lemon in half and instantly you smell that fresh lemony scent. Typically what I would say is you notice there's a knife laying on the bench. And you can see the light reflecting off the blade of that knife. You pick up the knife, you hold it above the lemon, and you slice the lemon in half, and instantly you smell that fresh lemony scent. And so I'm bringing all this sensory information into it. They see the light reflected off the blade of the knife. You see the knife. You hold it above, and you slice the lemon in half, and instantly you smell this fresh lemony scent. So I'm using VACOG. Now, number 3 is the storytelling tonality. So I want to make sure it's going to be interesting. If I'm bored with it, my client's going to be bored. You come home and you go through your home and you see the things you normally see and you hear the things you normally hear and you smell the smell of your home and you walk to the fridge. It's just boring. So you want to use some storytelling tonality and you slice the lemon in half and instantly you smell that fresh lemony scent. Now, what do I mean by storytelling tonality? It's the tonality that you would hopefully use if you're telling a bedtime story to a child. So you want to play with it. Now, you get them to the point, that last crescendo moment, like the wow factor moment, is when you get them to slice the lemon in half and instantly smell a fresh lemony scent. They pick up one half of the lemon. They're looking down. What could they see? They'd see the juice running out. They'd see a few seeds. It's getting closer and closer to their face. That's all you can smell, that strong lemony scent. You open up your mouth and you bite into the lemon and all the juice runs into your mouth. And then you move to the last part, which is coded there for you, is scripted there. It says, open up your eyes, and you start nodding your head. You say, open up your eyes. Notice how much saliva is in your mouth. And you just nod in your head. Now, what nodding your head does is a hypnotic way. It's a influencing way to help people find the affirmative. So you just nod in your head just a little bit. You don't need to do a lot, but just a little bit. And that helps our client find the result that they're looking for, which is typically 2 things are going to happen. Hopefully both happen, but it doesn't matter just as long as one thing happens. Now, what we're going for at the end there is for our client to recognize that there's extra saliva in their mouth. That's the final part. Now, the part before that I'm looking for as well, using sensory acuity and watching my client, is if I get them to bite into the lemon and they do this. If you can see my video there, let's see if I can make this bigger. I typically can, yeah. If they make a gesture like this, when I get them to bite into the lemon, well, that means that they're there. That means that they're feeling it. And so I'm happy at that point. I'm happy. I'm still going to ask them whether they still notice the amount of saliva in their mouth, just as a formality. But I'm going to be happy if I just see that sort of face, because they wouldn't be associated to the story if they didn't make that face. Because they make that face, they must be associated to it. And then what I do after that, I'll just say, how was that? And they're like, oh, it was weird, or it was great, or it was fantastic, or it was strange, whatever they say. And I just give it a meaning. It's what we call complex equivalence. In hypnotic language, Milton Erickson has a language pattern called complex equivalence, which means one thing equals another. And so we give this meaning. We say, look, the reason, because you had such a great experience right now with that lemon demonstration, that means you're going to get an amazing result throughout the hypnotherapy session. Like you are so ready for this. Like your unconscious mind is really good for this sort of thing. So you're just giving this positive meaning. You're building up your client's belief system, and that then prepares them for the hypnotherapy that's about to come. So the outcomes of step 2 are 2 things. One is that your client needs to understand how they can turn off their disbelief, that they've done it in the past and they need to learn how to do it again, and that they can do it on command. Which is the lemon demonstration. That is the entire purpose of step 2. At a higher level, that's what we're going for. Showing them they can turn off disbelief and that they can do it on command as well. So just going through the 8-step methodology. So far we've covered step 1, which is what hypnosis isn't. It's not mind control. It's not a pendulum. It's not a stage show. And then step 2 is what hypnosis is. So the body is a robot. It's about turning off disbelief. It's doing that lemon demonstration so they can do it on command. So we're just going to kind of start to build this 8-step process for you. But before we move into the next lesson, I want you to comment below and summarize what you just learned in lesson 2. And I'll see you on the next lesson.